Can the Niners pass defense hold up long enough for them to win the Super Bowl?
I think it's the question of the year. I mean, I think that's the question. That's the biggest question around the team.
Yeah.
They're clearly targeting Lenore,
Mm-hmm.
so that's obvious.
Some people like
Lenore's
targeting Hufanga. I mean, it kind of goes back and forth.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Gibson is a great ball hawk who will
Yeah.
catch these wounded ducks late in the game.
Yeah.
But as far as a coverage player, is he, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is he as a coverage player? I think his best thing is he's an incredible ball hawk.
Right.
So, it's just they're going to, I think the secondary is good, but needs a big pass rush up front. And then the
Mm-hmm.
question is when the chips are on the table and it's all there to be decided in the playoffs, are the Niners going to be able to mount that serious, incredible, overwhelming pass rush that we've seen at times, or is it going to be, an opportunity? Are they going to get just a little bit of pressure, but not that overwhelming pass rush, and then those DBs may get exposed?
Well, yeah. I mean, we saw what Patrick Mahomes did to this secondary. It's the same secondary. It's a little concerning, considering he could do it and Josh Allen could do it too. Just guys who can get outside of the pocket, create a little time, and gun it down the field. Like, if you can do those two things against the Niners defense, you can beat them. There's not that many quarterbacks who can do it. Russell Wilson used to do it all the time. He's a little old. I don't know that. I don't even know that Joe Burrow can do it. The Niners sacked him a bunch of times in Cincinnati last year. That was a close game. So can they hold? Jalen Hurts might be able to do it. Can they hold up? I don't know. This team reminds me a little bit of the 2012 Niners team that was, Colin Kaepernick came in right at the end, and the offense took off, and there was no real book on him, and the Niners' offense had teams on their heels, and their defense was great, but it started showing vulnerabilities down the stretch, and Justin Smith got hurt, and all of a sudden, in that Super Bowl, Joe freaking Flacco diced him up in the first half, just throwing deep, and like Chris Culliver was like, I don't know where the ball is. Remember that?
Yeah. I mean,
I kind of feel like Lenore's the new Culliver.
What I remember was there was some bad ball skills from Culliver in that game, and
Yeah.
balls that he just kind of floated up to Anquan Bolden and his tight
Yeah.
end, and those guys made plays on the ball, and the Niner DBs just didn't.
That's right. And
there were other
yes.
factors in that one, but I mean, I like Lenore. I think he's coming on, but he's going to be targeted. And Fonga's going to be targeted, and it's all about how much can they get done up front. It may be interesting to see if D'Amico lays back and stays with 4, or because to me their 4 is good enough that even when they get stuffed, if they send 5 and 6, they get home. So it's like they'll get home if they blitz. I really believe that. It's just a matter of, does he want to give a defined read to the quarterback, or does he want to muddy things up? Does he want to fool the quarterback? I mean, there's just a lot of these quarterbacks are so good that if you give them that defined defensive read, they just beat the blitz all day.
I'd rather bring pressure on Geno Smith than hang back and worry that he's going to beat you. Like, it's Geno. No offense, but it's Geno. He's not a top 5 quarterback in the league. He's not a top 10 quarterback in the league, even though he's a Pro Bowler this year. I feel like you can't just have no pressure on a quarterback. If you're not getting pressure with 4, I think you got to bring 5. But I feel like the Niners should be able to generate pressure with 4 against Seattle.
Yeah. I mean, I like Seattle's offensive line, but you got to remember this. I mean, rookies, this is the most number of games they've ever played. Now you're tacking on a playoff game. Both their tackles are rookies. Cross is awesome, but I mean, they're just, they're still rookies playing after the end of a long season. And the one thing that I've noticed is that Jordan Willis is just dialed up. So you got Jordan Willis, you got a Menahue, you got Ebukam, you got Bosa. Drake Jackson is a good player. He can't even get on the field 2 of the last 3 weeks. So I mean, they're stacked at defensive end now that Willis is back and performing. And you're right. I expect them probably to be able to get pressure with just 4.
I think it's going to be interesting though with the coverage. Like, teams in the playoffs are going to be very ruthless with how they go after Lenore. And I think we sort of saw. I want to go back and watch the film, but I think we saw Ryans adjust. If you know they're going to go deep at Lenore, then you probably should just shade your free safety over there. They don't want to go deep at Trevarius Ward. I mean, maybe some teams will, but no teams lately. So shade Gibson over there, and if you're throwing deep, you got safety help over the top. It shouldn't be that hard. You should be able to protect Lenore, considering you know how teams want to go after him. Deep.
Yeah, and he's got to play with poise. I mean, it's just as simple as that. When the ball's in the air, he's got to play with poise, and he's demonstrated both. Sometimes he does play with poise. You got to turn for the ball. You have to have timing. You got to communicate. But I mean, it is interesting. They also have Samuel Womack. How do you feel about Womack? Because I really liked what I saw early in the year from Womack, and it seems like with the injury to Ambry Thomas, it's going to be Charvarius and Lenore and Womack as their three corners, and then Janoris Jenkins.
I like Womack. I think he's like one of these rookies that never really got a chance, but probably is going to be a really good player next year, kind of like Talanoa. That's my take on him. I'm looking at Lenore's stats real quick. I mean, he started 13 games and broke up 5 passes. So to me, he's the kind of guy who's like, good tackler. He's in good coverage. He just doesn't really have ball skills or make plays on the ball. And when he's going up against, he made A.J. Green look good. When he goes up against Justin Jefferson in a couple rounds or A.J. Brown in a couple of rounds, what's that going to look like?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, for sure. You're right. They're going to have to lean things towards him and help him out.
Yeah.
But
that's why you're paying Charvarius Ward anyway. You should be able to do that.
Right. And I think Charvarius is feeling well enough physically that he's kind of regained some of that early season form that he had. I think, right around the middle of the year, right around that Kansas City game, wasn't he? He was a little dinged up right around then.
He was. Groin. I was going to say, there's only one team that's going to go after him. KC. Yeah. I think they know something. They must know a tendency or they must have an opinion or whatever, but they went after him with Marquez Valdez-Scantling and got him.